Welcome back. You ready for Unit C? We are just moving right along. This course is going super fast, isn't it? Hopefully you're enjoying it and getting the information you need. We're almost to the halfway point. So let's talk about Unit C, and we're going to be talking about choosing the team approach and what we're going to do. Why teams? We talked about that a little bit before, the benefits of teams and things like that. But we really want you to embrace that, understand how valuable teams can be. And one of the things is teams satisfy our sense of belonging. We're by nature social creatures. We're made that way. So it gives us a sense to belong, to be part of something, to develop a sense of commitment to something. And that's important for people. So we like to work on teams. We may say we hate teams, but in general, as humans, most of us like teams. We don't always like the way teams go. So we're going to do better because we're going to learn all about successful teams. It also helps to enhance a feeling or identity in our self-esteem. We're part of something. We belong to something. That's really important. It helps to balance the workload and reduces the stress because you have more than one person helping you working together on that project. It's not all on your shoulders. It also helps to meet and exchange social interactions and a social exchange, being with other people, sharing other ideas. It increases our creativity. It makes us more motivated. It develops a synergy, and that's very helpful. And it can create a support network. I've got this idea. I need a word. Can you help me with this? Would you review this? Would you look at that? So we're not on our own. And sometimes just sharing it with somebody helps to bring it over. What if you did this, or you put a period here instead of a question mark? As long as it's supportive and non-judgmental, it can really gain some momentum. So that's important. So how do you develop these relationships? How are you going to develop this great team that's supportive and empowering? Well, there's a couple things you can do. One of the things is to express your view of the group and its mission. I'm excited to be here. If you're not excited to be here, then they're not excited to be here. And what is its purpose? Why are we here? What are its objectives? How are we going to work together? And really show your views on how it can be successful in your thoughts and how it can be a great team. You want to take it outside sometimes. What that means is, can you get a different environment? Can you get a conference room or even somewhere else? Can you meet at Starbucks? Some of the most successful groups out there, when you hear about Google and Apple and things like that, some of these places, they have game rooms, they have lounges. Now, your workplace may not allow that, but what will they allow? Can you guys go to lunch together? Can you order lunch in? Can you mix it up a little bit, just get our creative juices flowing. That's helpful. Also, to encourage self-disclosure and get to know each other. That means you too. Everybody's got to disclose just a little bit so that we can develop those trusting relationships. Not a ton, not too much. It needs to be done in small spends, but be able to share with everyone so that we can trust one another and be committed to working together. Build open communication and be able to distribute power and responsibility among members. It's not just one person creating that top-down hierarchy again. This is a lateral or horizontal team. So we're sharing responsibilities, we're sharing duties, we're sharing power. So those are really important and very helpful. It's not always easy, however, with a team. And sometimes you're going to have resistance. This is particularly true when people are assigned to your team or they get to the team and go, I don't really like this team. I don't like this project. I don't like these people. And sometimes it's just dealing with attitudes and egos because we feel it's a waste of our time or we don't want to be there. So how do you get past that resistance? How do you get the buy-in? How do you get that person who's not thrilled about being on the team on board before we give up on them? So one of the things to do is acknowledge that change is hard and you may not want to be here, but we know there's some good that can come out of this. There's some positives out of it, but don't deny their feelings because they're real. Be open about the cost and benefits. Help them understand why they're on that team, why they were selected for that team, and what they can contribute and what it will give back to them, because they may not understand that. Next is to clear up any misunderstandings. They may have come in with these ideas of something, and that's what they're holding resentment for. So open communication and clear up any misunderstandings that may be there. Also, identify change agents. These are the people that are inspiring, the smoothers, the people that are really good with people. Get their buy-in and get them to help you to bring that resistor under in part of the team. And then it's important to try to persuade them to join in, but don't coerce them. Don't pay them. Don't barter with them. If they don't want to be there, they're going to bring your team down in the end. But do try to share information and clarify and see if they're not willing to give it a try. Maybe that is what it is. Maybe it's a try for so long and then they decide later if they want to stay. There's ways around it if you can work it. Something else that can be really helpful are team building activities. In general, team building activities can help improve a team's performance, builds trust, and helps with communications. However, they have to be done right. They are games, they're activities. If people don't understand why we're doing it or the value in it, they're not going to be invested in it. But they can be very, very powerful. So how do we do it? The first thing is starts from the very beginning. When you first get together with your team, make sure that from the first meeting that everybody is comfortable, they're relaxed, and they're excited about the project. That everybody doesn't have their head down, grumbling that they do not want to be there. From the very beginning, we got to set the right tone. From there, you want to use icebreaker activities or something to get people comfortable with each other and familiar with each other. Then you want to develop ground rules and explain those ground rules to everyone. Those are the expectations of the team and how they're going to conduct business with each other. And again, if you need to provide training with people at that time from the very beginning, then provide that from the beginning. This is what we're going to do, or this is how we're gathering, making sure that they have clear information and know what they're doing and why they're there. Now that you have a team, the next thing we have to do is develop a team identity. How is my team stand out? What makes my team unique? What makes my team a team? Sometimes it's a team name. I was involved in a team of second graders putting together a science project, and we gave ourselves a name. We were Team Clean Earth. And even though they were all 7 and 8 years old, they were part of Team Clean Earth. And they wrote it on their papers, and they had a sense of pride that came with it. So what is your team? However name you can label it, but that they feel like they're part of something. Sometimes, depending on the type of team, you might want to develop a logo or something that goes with your team that gives you a sense of pride. Slogans, songs, cheers, gestures, anything that's just you and your team that makes you feel that you're part of that and identifies you as part of those members. Visual reminders. Everybody has the same color folders. You have pens. It doesn't matter what it is, but that you set a sense of team, that this is a team, a group that comes together and that we're part of that. You think about branding. We have labels when you're part of an organization. Coke is red and white. It just is. And you see red and white, you go, oh, that's Coke. You don't have to read the words, you know that's Coke. And Pepsi's blue. So what is it that you're doing that makes your group stand out as a unique group and that they're part of something? Whatever that is. If you can, if there's a way to embrace that. Another thing we want to talk about is how teams cope with resistance and the ever powerful and ever increasing egos that can come into groups that can disrupt the team process. First thing we need to know is that everybody has an ego. Everybody does. So we all have talents, we all have skills, we all have egos. Some people work better and some people don't, and their ego can get in the way of themselves and get in the way of team success. So acknowledge that everybody has an ego, and acknowledge that everybody's a superstar, that everybody brings talent, that everybody brings skills, that everybody is valuable here, everyone, so that somebody doesn't put themselves above the team. Focus on the greater good. You're bringing this, and this is really powerful, but we're going to come together for this bigger project. This isn't about you, this is about this project that we're all part of. Be direct and neutral. And when you have somebody who strays from that and kind of puts themselves above the rest of the group, sometimes it's good to call them out and make it personal. If you say somebody's doing this, that person with the ego might not get it. You're talking to them. So, Phyllis, I need you to do this. I need your thoughts on this. Jimmy, I need your support on that. So making it a personal kind of identification within that group, and that they are a group member, a team member, and that every team member is valuable. Sometimes, however, the problem isn't just ego and it's not easy to work through. Sometimes it's a personal problem with that particular team member. They don't want to be there, or they're not a good team player. That will happen. We don't want it to happen. We want to have a great team, but not everybody's meant to be on every team. So some of the things that we can do are to establish clear expectations of behavior and how people will conduct themselves in that team, and make sure we stand by that. We can also do our homework, find out, are there existing conflicts within my team so that I don't bring them into the team? So how do I pick members that don't already have problems with each other so we can have a good, solid team when possible? Resolve leadership uncertainties. When people weren't sure about their roles or who's supposed to do this, this can really happen when you have somebody who's in a higher position than somebody else, yet that person may be the leader of a particular task. That's okay. Just clarify, what is your role for this purpose, for this team, so people understand what they're supposed to do and there isn't any conflict there. Be very direct when dealing with the problems and attack the problems, not the people. We need to all be here at certain times. We need to all meet deadlines. Not, Johnny, you didn't meet the deadline. But by not meeting deadlines, it holds us back from this. We need to find ways to meet that. Are there barriers stopping us from meeting those deadlines? Attack problems, not people. You also want to call in reinforcements when necessary. Do you need HR? Do you need a manager support? Do you have somebody who's just difficult? Do you need their support in your team project? Be willing to get those supports if necessary for the success of the project. Poor communication will lead to conflict, which will lead to unresolved conflict, which will lead to bigger conflicts, which will lead to your team falling apart and not feeling united. They won't be able to get this energy and they won't be driven to success. So it's very important those things are resolved. Successful teams need to recognize and celebrate their success as well. It is really important when you put that time and that effort in those things that you celebrate each other and you celebrate the time and effort that you put in together. What are ways that you do that? Is to look for success, look for great effort. Don't just wait till the end of the project. Johnny did a great job with this. You had some neat ideas here. This report looks really nice. I appreciate we were ahead of the deadline. Look for opportunities to make people feel valued and important and appreciated. You can find them if you look for them. You also want to create opportunities to share accomplishments, not only within the team, but outside of the team. Sharing with their manager how great Sharon's doing and how helpful and what she's contributed. Sharing putting it in the newsletter. What way can you share the success of the team and the members of that team with the others? Probe for good news. Find out from other people something that you may not be sitting on something they're working on. So find out from each of them what good stuff's going on that you can share. Be willing to celebrate by socializing. Find an open communication where people are willing to share. That may be outside of the workplace, may not be, but be open to socializing in friendly atmospheres. And again, involve senior management when necessary. Another final thought is, depending on the group and depending on the purpose, sometimes doing things like social networking or social groups, like maybe your group should have a Facebook page. That's a way to publicly announce and share, or maybe you have a electronic place within the workplace that shares information that others are doing. But something where we can really communicate and share what's happening with others is really important. Whenever we work really hard on something, we want to be acknowledged for our work. So hopefully that was helpful. Come on back. We're going to talk about Unit D and move towards the end of the chapter. See you soon.